All right, so thank you so much for joining in this video. In this next video, we're going to be talking about another very important tool you would not miss out. As long as you're using Photoshop, you would frequently use this tool. Okay, and that tool is known as the brush tool. The brush tool is a tool that you would use a lot more often. Okay, all right, and so without wasting time, I just want us to just delve into the brush tool so we'll see the magic it performs. Now, the brush tool is a tool that I want you to realize that is very vast. Okay, you could use the brush tool for a lot of things. I mean, you could use the brush tool for a lot of things. I know, and it's more or less like a brush you use in painting. Okay, that's what it's like, but with some presets and some options and some settings change, you could do a lot of things with the brush tool. So let's quickly go into the brush tool. The brush tool is located right below your retouching tools. That's spot healing brush and all of that. So right below it you have your brush tool. Okay, in that brush tool set you have brush tool, pencil tool, color replacement tool, and mixer brush tool. So I'm going to show you how each of them works. The shortcut to bring out your brush tool is the B. If you look here, you see a B. Yes, so a B is what brings out your brush tool. So defaultly, when you click on your brush tool, you just click on your brush tool, you get something like, so when you click on your brush tool, this is where you get a brush like this, maybe something like this. You know, you could just move around and all of that, play around with it. Control Z, Control Alternate Z, Control Alternate Z. So now the brush tool makes use of your foreground color to paint. So that means that when you click and drag, okay, the color it paints with is your foreground color. Now, now, alternatively, if you, okay, so that's the brush tool. Now there are some things I want you to know about the property panel, or the property menu for the brush tool. That is where all the magic goes down. So first of all, what you have here is the increase size, right? Is to increase the size. Okay, what you have here to increase the size and has like minor editings. So when you come here, you are making your presets for your brush. So here you could increase the size. Okay, let's say we want a 77. You can see it's increasing. You see the cursor is increasing, right? So this is a bigger brush. Okay, so let's just leave it at this. Now also, a brush has a property called hardness. Now when you say a hard brush, you mean that the brushes are basically solid brushes. Now let me show you. The hardness of this brush is on 100%. That means it is very hard. Watch this. Good. You could see that that's a very hard brush. Now let's reduce the hardness to 0%, which is a very soft brush. For the same stroke, look at this. You see, so while one has very hard edges and solid edges, the other sort of fades out at the edges, right? And this is very important because you would need to sometimes switch the edges of your brush and all of that. Now you increase the size. Let's say we increase the size something harder. Now this is a soft brush. This is a soft brush here. Okay, look at the hardest brush at that same size. You see, two different, the same brush preset, the same color, but just different hardness. That's why they have these different colors, right? So that's one. I've told you how to increase the size of the brush. You could increase the hardness. You could also just choose here the kind of brush you want. Just choose. Okay, let's increase this so you see the difference. There's several brush presets, like I said. So let's increase the size. See this? It's a soft brush. Let's use hard brushes this time around. Okay, so now Photoshop comes with, okay, so also something else I want you to know about the brush panel is this opacity. Now we're working with hard brush. Okay, good. So let's select this, for instance. Let's say, let's increase it so you see very well. Now, opacity. The opacity is on 100%. That means it's not transparent at all. This is what you get. The moment I reduce the opacity to 50%, let's say 50%, look at the difference. It's still a hard brush, but it's now more transparent. When you reduce it to 7%, this is what you have. You can barely see it. It's there, but you can barely see it. You see? So that's opacity. Then the flow and the opacity sort of seem the same. Let's increase the opacity back to 100. The flow and the opacity seem the same, but they are not the same. They are different things. So the flow is on 100%. Here's what we get. Now let's reduce the flow to say 81%. This is what you get on an 81% flow. Okay, this is what you get. Let's reduce the flow to 33%. Good. Are you seeing that? Let's reduce the flow to say 13%. Right. Let's reduce the flow to 7%. Good. Now let's do the same for opacity. Let's see, just so you know the difference. Opacity is opacity on 100%, opacity on 83%, opacity on, let's say, 50%, 51%, opacity on 13%, and then opacity on 7%. Good. So this is the difference between your flow and your opacity. Okay, difference between your flow and your opacity. They are different things, although sometimes people like to use them interchangeably, but it depends on what you're working with. But they are all different things. So also one thing you should also know, very important about your brush tool, is what we call the brush panel. Okay, the brush panel. If you want to, there are two ways to, there are about 3 ways to get your brush panel out. You see this sign here, right? You click on it, it brings out your brush panel, also known as the brush presets panel, right? So this is your brush panel. Okay, another way is you just come here, right, to your far right. You come here. This is for brush. Once you click on it, it brings out your brush panel. Alternatively, if it's not here, because sometimes it's not usually here, right, sometimes it's not usually here, you could just go to window, brush, take it, and then it comes up, right? So there's something else I want you to know about your brush panel. Now this is where a lot of magic goes down in your brush. Now for instance, this is the brush we've been using since, the same brush we've been using since. Okay, let me increase the opacity to 100. The same brush we've been using since gave us this. Now let's increase the spacing, because you know when you click, this is a circular brush, this is a circular brush. So now let's increase the spacing between each brush. Look at this, look at this. So let's paint. Can you see that? By merely increasing the spacing between each brush, it no longer comes as one streak anymore. Okay, it no longer comes as one streak. We have increased the spacing and it no longer comes as one streak. Good. So now everything you see here are all dynamics of what you can do to your brush, right? How you can change your brush, edit your brush, and all of that. So now let's go to scattering. This is scattering. Let's increase the scatter to say 500%. Let's increase the scatter to 500%. This 502%. Let's just make it 500%. And then the count, let's increase the count to 6 is good. Jitters 10%. Now just watch what's going to happen here now. So now we are painting. Can you see that? It scatters it. Now let me make it a lot more. Let's increase, let's reduce the count a little, reduce the jitters. Can you see that? Can you see that? Okay, so you could do several things with this, right? Now let me show you also another thing you could do. Now color dynamics, you go on color dynamics. Okay, you know what, let's increase the hue to say 50%. Okay, can you see what's going on? Now we increase the hue to 50%. Color dynamics means that you want to put in several colors, right? So you increase the hue to say 50%, and then okay, let's reduce the brush size so that it looks more let's reduce the brush size. Good. Okay, let's increase it a little. I want to use a soft brush, so I take the brush down. Good. Okay, let me increase this panel so you see clearly. So I want to use a soft brush, so I take the hardness down. Okay, good enough. So on color dynamics we have increased the hue. Good. So let's see. So can you see more or less like what we have here? Okay, so you see some of all those pictures you see in Photoshop, some of all those decorative things, this is where it all starts from. That's why your brush is very, very important. Very important, so you can't do without. Now let's reduce the flow to say 41%. Let's increase the brush size a little. Brush tip. Let's increase the brush size. Okay, good. Let's go again. Okay, sorry. Let's reduce the flow some more. I want to increase the brush size. So can you see this, if the effect this is already given to our shape, to our background picture? See the effects, making it have like more lights, sort of. There's still more we can do to this, but I just want to show you the basics of how your brush tool works. Okay, this is just how your brush tool works. So there are lots and lots of presets, right? Lots and lots of presets. Also, one thing I want you to also take note of in working with your brush tool is that Photoshop comes with some presets, some brush presets. When you click right down here on your brush preset and you come over to this gear icon, it looks like a gear, and you click, you would see where it says, where it gives you the brushes, some of Photoshop's preset brushes. Now mine is different because I have downloaded some brushes and I kept them here. So you see some brushes here that are not in yours, right? So um no need to be scared. They are brushes I downloaded from the internet, and I'm going to show you where you can download brushes from and the kind of brushes you could use. But then let me show you some of the interesting brushes I have. Right, this is a smoke, or this is a fire brush. Let's look at the fire brush. So they'll ask you if you want to append it here or you want it to replace all the brushes here. The replace is not a permanent replace, so no fear. Okay, right? So this is a fire brush. Okay, so you may not really see. Okay, let me increase the flow. Let me increase the flow. Brush presets. Let's take back our spacing. Good. So, and this is a fire brush. Okay, although you may not, let me open a new tab. So let me change this to say yellow color so you appreciate it better. Okay, let's say let's see. Okay, let me make it a little more orange and yellow. Let's see, a little more red, a little more red. Okay. So now this is a fire brush. Okay, this is a fire brush. You can see it's like smoke. It is like smoke. So those brushes are brushes I downloaded off the internet. I'll show you where to download brushes. So this is gears. Now let me show you another brush I have that's also interesting. Smoke brush. is also very much like the fire brush, but this is for smoke. You want to put like a smoke in your design. You're doing some designs, you want smoke effects to be there, you just make use of this. Let's increase this. You see, smoke effect, it's giving it that smoke. Okay, now let me change this to gray, because you know smoke is usually gray. You see that? Okay, so click, let's choose another one, increase the size. Okay, so that's smoke effect. So there are several interesting brushes you can get off the internet. You could just Google brushes and then you see lots and lots of brushes off the internet. This is also a smoke brush. Then let me show you another interesting brush I have here. I have blood brushes. Okay, append. So because blood is red, I want to use a red color to show you these brushes and what they look like, right? So blood brushes. No, this is so let's select this. So this is a blood brush. Okay, it seems like a blood splatter. If I make this background, if I put on a white background, you appreciate it better. You see, it seems like a blood splash in a place. So you see, some of all those things you see in Photoshop, some of the effects you see that people do, a lot of them are just brushes, right? You just use brushes. So now you want to make a movie poster for a horror movie, you could just make use of these brushes. Okay, you could see, put it there, put someone's face and all of that. So there are lots and lots of brushes. There are also brushes that portray superheroes. There are brushes like Batman brushes and all of that. So when you want to work with comics, there are several brushes you could use. You could see this blood splatter brushes. Now also another interesting brush I have is a water splash brush. Water splash. So this is also one interesting brush. Very interesting. I don't know if you've seen any of all those any of all these adverts of maybe Fanta or bottled water or something. These are the brushes they use, right? So when you when you have maybe an ad to do for a company or something, just get these brushes. You could see it's sort of like a water splash. So water is sort of bluish, so I'm going to use a bluish color to portray this, just so you appreciate it better. You see, okay, now this is too blue. This is too blue. Let's see. Okay, not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet. So I just want you to appreciate it. So nothing too serious. You can see this is a water brush, water splash brush. I included some of these brushes in your resources so you could check them. I'll show you how to download them very quickly. You can see this is a water splash brush. Okay, it's a water splash brush. So there are lots and lots of brushes here. Okay, lots and lots and lots and lots. So shortly I'm going to show you where you're going to download brushes from and how you'd install the brushes also. So no fears, but when you install the brush, you could come up here and then you'd see it, right? So that's that about brushes. Feel free to be creative with them, use them as much as you want. In the other video I'll talk about all the other tool sets in the brush tool. Okay, just stay tuned, because in the next video something very interesting you want to see, one of those magics in Photoshop, and I'll show you how you could change the color of someone's clothes, how you could change the color of just about anything in Photoshop. You'll see that in the next video. Stay tuned.